Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the RFP webinar for the 2016 Successful Women in Clean Energy. My name is Andrew Chabot. I'm the Program Manager here at Mass CEC for Workforce Development. I'm joined by Tamika Jacques, the Director for Workforce Development. And today we will run through the RFP, some of the expectations in the RFP itself, and then offer up an opportunity to answer any questions that are posed. Before we start, though, can everyone hear me? Can you please just type very quickly into the message bar if you can, just so I know it's not falling on deaf ears. Great, thanks. So we'll just dive right in. Please, over the course of the webinar, if you have any questions, just feel free to type them in this chat box, and then we will answer at the conclusion of the webinar and post all questions and answers on the website by this Friday. With that, I'll turn it over to Tamika, who will kick it off.
Great. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Tamika Jacques. As Andrew said, I'm the Director of Workforce Development here at Mass CEC. I'm not sure if some of you are aware just of our organization. As you know, we are a Massachusetts-wide organization. We are located in downtown Boston, Massachusetts. And as you can see from the screen, it just goes over some of our mission, what we do, how we accelerate clean energy technologies, and I think where workforce comes in, where you can see on the screen, this arrow, is that we are trying to create high-quality jobs and long-term economic growth across the industry, across Massachusetts. This program, Successful Women in Clean Energy, falls under one of our line items here at Mass CEC, which is Pathways Out of Poverty. And this slide just explains really who can basically qualify for the Pathways Out of Poverty program, what type of trainings that we've offered in the past, some certifications, who is eligible. So please, as you are applying for this RFP, definitely keep that in mind of the type of person that can qualify under the Pathways Out of Poverty program. So Massachusetts, as you can see on this slide, the clean energy economy, it's very large and it's growing. And so we've had a 64% growth between 2010 and 2015. And so our portfolio across the Massachusetts, as you can see, we almost have 6,500 clean energy firms. And this data was taken from our 2015 report, of which this year our 2016 report will be released, and that's why I said that, you know, we probably will surpass the 6,500 clean energy firms. And also, as you can see, again, based on this data, almost 100,000 clean energy jobs across Massachusetts, and we've had a 12% employment growth, which is the highest since 2010 last year we did. And all this can be found on masscec.com. You can look at our annual report that we do. This report is mandated by the legislature that we have to provide each year. So again, looking at the next slide, you can just see the reason why that we are doing this type of program for women, because as you can see, if you join this industry, this is an industry that it has long-term growth, long-term, can supply someone long-term economic job, career development, and it has economic stability. Okay, so how this program came to be, this is the second phase of our pilot. I will go into the first phase in a few minutes. But the first phase really came out of some data that's been happening over the past couple of years in Massachusetts around women in Massachusetts, you know, as part of the clean energy industry. And as you can see from this statistic listed, 22.5% of the new clean energy hires over the past 12 months, women represented 22.5% of new clean energy hires over the past 12 months, compared to looking at the overall Massachusetts workforce of 48%. So here we have 48% of women working in Massachusetts, but if you look at in the clean energy industry, it is 22.5%. And one thing, you know, in looking at the statistic, looking at this data, And you'll see why we've come to form this program and shape the Successful Women in Clean Energy program is because when we sample our employers and we ask them, what is it that you want? A lot of them have said to us, experience is more important, to us rather than, a diploma or a bachelor's degree or equivalent, because they are looking for someone that can come in and can provide soft skills. Can they sell the industry? Are they able to have that customer service? Are they personable? And so in the sector of sales, manufacturing, distribution, they really need someone that can come in and be personable, provide that customer service, again, know how to talk about the industry, know how to execute it. And so that's really how, looking at this data, how this program came to be. So we were looking at this data and we said, the women in clean energy, the numbers are down. And we really needed an entry point where we could get someone that is part of what we call the Pathways Out of Poverty, line item. We needed an entry point where we could get women trained in sales, trained in marketing, and be able to train them and get them some training in clean energy, and then provide them with a paid fellowship at the end of that, so we could really keep them in this industry, and then they can have long-term economic stability. So really, who we are looking for to help us in this initiative is we're looking for a training provider that will continue on in what we call, this is going to be the second phase of the SWICE pilot, and it really is training adult women ages 24 and above, for clean energy sales and marketing. And again, as you can see, you've seen in the RFP, we're looking for women that are 24 years of age or and above, at least minimum have a high school diploma or a GED, and have incomes that do not exceed 300% of the federal poverty level. And you can see what those income statistics are in the RFP. And we are looking for really to help women that are underemployed, unemployed, a dislocated worker, displaced, or maybe as a population of veterans that have come back from serving their duty, or maybe they are done with their commitment to the military and they are looking for that career move. And so we're asking training providers really to help us do the training for these 20 women that we are talking about, provide career readiness, financial literacy, college preparedness, and really just show them how to survive in what we call a male-dominated industry, but also an industry that could provide great economic stability for them. And one thing that is new this year is we are seeking the training provider to partner with a higher education entity, because we feel that we want to train them in clean energy, but also we want them to have that option that if they would like to take one, 3 credit class and really get that experience and see what it's all about, that is an option that we would like for them to have. So again, everything that we discuss is really, it's a pilot. And so these are just ideas that we've come up with based on some data. And again, the next slide talking about what we are looking for. So we're looking for a training provider that can really start from the beginning with these women, train them in sales and marketing, give them the career prep that they need with, the curriculum, and then really supporting them while they're in a paid fellowship for 6 months at a clean energy business approved by Mass EEC. And so the way the first phase worked is our training provider was SMOC. SMOC did an excellent job of training these women, give them a 5-week curriculum around work prepared readiness training, resume writing, how to survive in a male-dominated industry, what is it that they need to know. And so during that 5 weeks, SMOC was able to get these ladies ready to go on to a 6-month paid fellowship provided by Mass CEC. And so those women were then, once they completed the training, they were sent out to interview at the employers that Mass CEC recommended, and then from that point on, those employers picked who they wanted to be at their business, and Mass CEC is currently reimbursing those employers for their wages for the 6 months that they are at that company. And we are also looking for a training provider that is going to, have your own curriculum around work preparedness, but also we will purchase the sales curriculum. So phase 1, we used a curriculum from HeatSpring, and we were able to bring our training provider SMOC and HeatSpring together, and they merged the curriculum in together to train these women in sales and marketing. So just a little bit about phase 1 achievements, because we are definitely proud of our phase 1 and the training provider that was awarded the first time. The pilot began in October of 2015. We had a target goal of training 10 women, and the women were recruited from SMOC's network of partners. So you can see here some of the ways that they recruited the 10 women. As you know, recruiting 10 women can often, you might have to pull from a pool of 100 or a pool of 200. So it's not just that you're pulling 10, you're trying to recruit, you stop at 10. We do encourage that you recruit more than 10, because some women are going to drop out, or they're going to have life issues, life reasons. And so, as you can see, SMOC actually enrolled 13 women with the goal that 10 women would be trained, the 5-week training portion. And listed here is just some of the certificates, that part of the curriculum that SMOC was able to provide to these participants. And so on November 9th, these 13 women, they made it through the program, they graduated, they had a ceremony, and we are very grateful for SMOC services. And as of June, all 13 were offered fellowship positions, and 10 women are currently in their fellowship position, and 3 were unable to complete their 6-month fellowship due to various reasons that I'm sure most of you would know, sometimes working with a disadvantaged population. Feel free to chime in at any time if I miss anything. And so I think that I just want to share with you some of the lessons learned from this pilot. And again, the pilot is still going on, because we have women that are in their fellowship portion right now, and we have an evaluator. SMOC has contracted with an evaluator to evaluate the program. So while we don't have concrete data, we can see these women where they are, and the program is very successful. I think I want to share with you some lessons learned here. We're still unsure if 5 weeks was maybe too short. Did the women need something a little bit longer? I think that is still up for debate. One thing that our employers, we found several occasions that the employers felt that the women needed more computer training. So on topics how to use the internet, applications as far as Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Outlook, and these are some of the things that it was just a trial and error. We didn't, SMOC did provide a computer training, but I don't think some women had the in-depth knowledge that was needed from our employers, and that is something that we, we find fault in, and it was really our fault in that. So we are just, Mass CEC is just trying to correct a few things, and I think that as you'll see in the RFP, that's why we did stress that computer training is going to be necessary based on what our employers are currently telling us. And I think that's why that we're saying this is a pilot phase 2, because I'm sure we'll have lessons learned from phase 2. And we would like to do this in a 3 phases so that we can come up with some concrete data and see how if we can move this program over the next coming years. And the last thing is higher education training. It just really, we felt that maybe we could offer them maybe a 3-credit course. Is this something that could be integrated into the curriculum? So again, if you're, when you partner with your community college and you talk to them, how can we put a credit course into curriculum that you're going to establish around working with their work prepared curriculum, as well as with some training in clean energy? And that's why we said, is it more than 5 weeks of what they needed? Is it an 8-week program? We don't know. One thing that SMOC did is they did offer an incentive. If the woman that completed the five weeks, they did get an incentive payment at the end of completing that 5 weeks. So that is something that you might want to think about if you're saying, okay, we want to make it 10 weeks. Put that in your application of offering that incentive funds for them. Now, one thing, because this is a Pathways Out of Poverty application, you have to keep in mind also that some participants may be on benefits, so they may not be able to receive a financial incentive. Some of them might be on unemployment, so they might not be able to receive a financial incentive from that. So that really is up to your program to figure out. And how is that going to be integrated? How can you, make your participants understand that when they go into a fellowship position, if they are on unemployment, this could count as a training program, an individual training program as an ITA, but also they have to let unemployment know that this is something that is going to generate income. And the paid reimbursement wages that we are currently, we ask the employers to pay minimum each woman that is in the fellowship position $16 an hour, between 35 and 40 hours per week. And it could be a maximum of $17 an hour that each participant could be making. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're thinking of what population are you seeking. And again, this is lessons learned. This is things that came up kind of during the program and what we're finding out. So I just want to share that with you as things to think about as you are applying for this RFP.
And I just want to add one quick thing is, kind of building on Tamika's points, one of the criteria we found to be very successful that employers gave us some great feedback on was the development of the soft skills for some of these trainees. As you know, working with a Pathways population, as Tamika said, it can be there can be some difficulties, but we found that SMOC did a good job with being able to train these individuals on being able to operate well in a work environment, work well with colleagues. But I think one of the central things to focus on is being able to take feedback and constructive criticism. There was 1 or 2 instances, and this is just lessons learned, where individuals on the job, were maybe not as receptive to some of that criticism and feedback as it would be required to move forward and grow professionally. So that's just something to keep in mind as you take into consideration all of the other elements as well.
Yes, absolutely. And so, with all that said, all that we've learned and we're still currently learning. Again, this is pilot phase 2. In the beginning, our goal was 10. Phase 2, we are hoping that we can extend this program to 20 women. And so I've just listed here some mandatory program components. All are not listed here, but these just some mandatory program components that were listed in your RFP, talking about how you should be developing your program, what it should look like. And again, all the mandatory program components are listed on page 2 and 3 of the RFP. And one thing I want to say, I did put case management on here, but this RFP is very heavily focused on case management. I think, again, our current training providers, they did an excellent job with case management. You really have to be able to have that relationship with each of your participants, as well as we have participants call us sometimes when they also need help. So you just have to make sure that your case management structure is in line and it's very thorough of how these participants will be supported, and just how you are going to support them from the start to the beginning, how you're going to be able to keep in contact with them when they're in a paid fellowship away from you. How is that going to happen? And I just want to be as clear as possible on this webinar because, you know, we're not trying to hide anything. We're just sharing our lessons learned and what we would like to see in the RFP. And I think that that will be really helpful to a lot of you. One thing that is new this time is the first time around we didn't have mandatory program metrics, but if you look at page 3, as far as data-wise of the mandatory program metrics as far as the participants. So I just want to point this out that 100% of participants are women. 100% of participants must be below, at or below 300% of poverty level. And you can see the chart on page 7. 100% of the participants must have their high school diploma GED. 100% of participants must be 24 years of age or older. You know, these are the goals that you're shooting for. 100% of participants will be enrolled, trained, and retained in a sales and marketing training program. The target goal should be 10 individuals if you are applying for the full amount of 145,500, or for 20 individuals, if you're going to apply to train 20 women, it should be 291,000. Again, 100% of participants will be enrolled in a higher education credit-bearing course. The target goal should be 10 if you're applying for 145,500, or 20 if you're applying for 291,000. 70% of women from metric F, which equals 14 women, after they complete training, will be placed and retained in a fellowship position at a clean energy company for at least 90 days post-placement, and 65% of the 70% from metric F will be placed in a fellowship position that are from the fellow position will be hired by the fellowship host company or another clean energy employer within 90 days from their fellowship completion date, meaning that those 9 people you will help find a job, whether it's if they're in the fellowship position working with their employer to get them hired, or you will assist them in getting them a clean energy job in the industry following their fellowship position. And I think one thing that is unique to this RFP that I'm not sure, you know, I know there's a lot of RFPs that are issued across the state, but we like to be involved with our training providers. So it's not, we have a network of employers. So we will, you know, assist with helping, finding, getting these women employment. We have a jobs board that is updated regularly. And we also run a vast internship program that has over 200 employers in our database. So it's not like you're going to be on your own while doing this. We will assist you the best way that we can, because we also want you to meet these metrics, because we also want to be proud of this program. We want to be able to brag and boast about it to our board and to the Secretary of Energy. We would like this program to be talked about across Massachusetts as a model program. So those are just those are the mandatory program metrics that we did require as part of Phase 2. That is something that is new. And
just one other thing, right below the mandatory program requirements in the RFP, starting on page 3, going on to page 4, there's an example program. If you had any questions on how those numbers break down, we've provided an example there, so you can kind of see what the numbers would look like with an example. I think the request amount was somebody as if they were taking on the full funding amount for 20 individuals, and then what would be required for each stage of the process. And then lastly, just to Tamika's point, you know, we do have this internship program, and we were able to recruit the majority, if not all, of the employers this round from that program, and we would do something similar. The way that works is the employers, you know, filled an application for us. we were able to review them. Ones that qualified, we gave the approval, and then once the trainees went through their training and had updated resumes, we then distributed that to the companies that the trainees indicated preference for, and then they were able to go in for interviews and be placed kind of on a first-come, first-served basis amongst the employers until they were all placed. Just some added visibility to that and how that would most similarly go forward for this second phase.
So just moving on, again, mandatory program components is really, as I said, work closely with Mass DEC to implement the program. We're looking that you would have at least minimum a part-time person that would be dedicated, solely to this program, someone that your participants can know that they can go to if they have a problem, and also the same as from Mass DEC, knowing that there is someone that we can go to that can answer questions, that can brainstorm ideas, that can really take this initiative underneath their belt. Again, participants must be trained as a cohort, so this is not an individual training account. We are looking that if you apply for 10 women, those 10 women you are moving together. They are going through training together. If you apply to train 20 women, again, they're going together. They're doing all this together so they also can form their network and share their bond. Just a little bit of the qualification section. This is all in the RFP. Narrative must not exceed 12 pages. We're looking for Times New Roman 12-point font with 1-inch margins. And the timeline and budget sheet is not included as part of the narrative section. If you go online, you see the RFP, the budget, you can get an Excel format. You can put your numbers in there. It's a lot easier for us to read sometimes. So I encourage you to use that Excel sheet and enter your information. And based on, it should populate. We've self-populated it, so it's auto-populated, should I say.
Feel free to add other cells there too if there's more items in a particular section. It's meant to be a way for you to start off on the budgeting process and planning, but don't feel constrained by the number of rows or cells. Feel free to add new ones and make sure that just the totals add up when you do submit it to us, so we can make sure we're on the same page. As I said, total funding for this program is $145,500 for one training provider who applies for 10 individuals, or if you are seeking to apply for 20 individuals, then the funding amount is $291,000. The match requirement is 15% of in-kind contributions. You can match that through staff time, teaching time. There are different ways to do a match, but we would like to see that you are at least also your organization is also coming in with us to say we are matching, we are also providing some services. It could be personal counseling, career counseling, but we would like to see a 15% in-kind match, minimum, should I say, in-kind match to what you are asking for. And again, this is just who we are seeking to be part of this RFP. You can see here listed higher education institutions, community-based organizations, 501c3s, labor union, workforce training providers, workforce investment boards. And we do look for relevant experience. That's the asterisk on the bottom. You have similar experience working with these populations. This is definitely the program for you. And so just to close out here, we have important dates listed on this page. If you are participating in this webinar, you can also write us questions by Friday, June 3rd, and final questions and answers will be posted by next Friday, June 10th. I want to say that we are being a little lenient on this webinar and with this RFP. So if your questions come in by July 1st,
we will personally answer your questions. It won't just be posted. We will try our best to answer our questions, but we want to make sure that you have enough time to think about this RFP and any questions that you might have. We want to make that available to you until July 1st. So again, if you know a question comes in by this Friday, we will post it to the general public next Friday. And then if you have very broad questions by July 1st, we will get those questions answered to you on a personal basis. And then maybe at a later date, we'll post all the questions that were asked to us at a later date, so you can check the website after July 1st. Something new we're doing here is that we are going to have, when the applications come in, Mass CEC will read them. This is listed in your RFP as well. And those that meet a score of 80, we will ask you to come in and kind of pitch your application. Just if we have further questions, we'll ask further questions. This is just a way for us to meet you, and also sometimes you can't explain everything you want on paper. This will just be another way that you'll be able to explain, you know, what is your vision by working with Mass CEC on this initiative. And so if your application meets a score of an 80, you will be invited in to speak with us regarding your application, and then we hope to make decisions by late September 2016, so that your estimated contract date will be October 2016. And again, even though your contract is awarded in October 16, doesn't mean that you have to start in October. So maybe, you know, you might need a couple of months of recruitment so that you can be ready to start the program in January, or to get, you know, everything together, see what curriculum you want to use, our sales curriculum. So it's not like your contract starts October 1st and then you have to run with the program. You might want to plan that program for 3 months. How are you gonna do it? And Mass CEC will work with you every step of the way on that. But we would expect that this program would start to be run sometime early January 2017. And then the estimated contract, you know, end date probably would be May 2018, depending on what programs that you propose. We're looking at a May 2018 closing date. So, and that also could be determined based on, you know, what you're applying for and what your program elements are. When you submit the application, we like to have 2 copies, 1 copy in Microsoft Word, and then 1 copy in a PDF format. And again, listed here, listed in the RFP, you will see that my email address is tjacques@masscec.com. The application is due by Friday, August 12th. 2016, 2 p.m. And again, I just wanted to go over a little, just a reminder again about the pitch. We talked a little bit about it, but just want to reemphasize this is something new that we're starting, because we would like to meet our applicants of who is applying. We want to meet you, make sure that we clearly understand it, and it just gives you another opportunity to kind of express your vision to us and how you see it. So with that said, here is my contact information. If you have any questions that you would like to be asked, again, from the due dates up to July 1st, you can email Andrew at achabot@masscec.com. And again, these will be posted. And if you have further questions, feel free to email Andrew.
Great. And also, this webinar is being recorded, so we will be posting this on the website as well. Here's a link to our jobs board. We always want to promote this to individuals so that we can get the word out there. We have clean energy positions posted almost daily, so please keep that in mind if there's individuals looking. But this webinar, again, will be on our website. It should be available hopefully today or tomorrow, and you should be receiving, I think, a follow-up email after this webinar tomorrow with a link to this webinar so that you can use it for reference. Again, any other questions we'll be posting on the website, but now's the opportunity. If there's any questions that come to mind, please ask now. And we will answer them. We'll also post them, but if there's any that you think of later on that you don't think of now, that's great. Just please, as Tamika said, email either Tamika or myself, and we will take care of it. So if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, we will adjourn a little early and allow everyone to get on with their Wednesday. Great. Okay. So again, please feel free to email us any questions you may think of. The RFP is listed on our website for the general outline. You can reference this webinar. And thank you all once again for taking the time to spend with us today and go over some of the mechanics of the RFP. We look forward to seeing your applications. Take care.